I have told you repeatedly not to make this mess again. You think I am playing? I will show you today.
Imagine paying 850,000 naira a term for your daughter to learn further mathematics and diction, only for her to spend her mornings pounding yam and washing chinchilla fur blankets in a teacher's boys' quarter. Welcome to Royal Girls College, Lagos, where the school motto was excellence and virtue, but the reality was sufferhead and silence. In the humid heat of a Lagos afternoon, while the ceiling fans in SS2 were whirring lazily over students solving quadratic equations, 5 desks were empty. They weren't sick, they weren't in the clinic, they were at Mrs. Okoro's house, located conveniently just behind the school fence. Mrs. Okoro was the Vice Principal Administration, but that title was just for show. Her real power lay in one terrifying fact. She was the younger sister-in-law to the school's owner, Chief Badmus. She walked the corridors of Royal Girls College like she had the deed to the land in her bra. She was a heavy-set woman who tied wrappers that cost more than a teacher's monthly salary, and her voice could curdle fresh milk.
Look at me when I am talking to you. I said clean those vegetables properly. If I find one speck of dirt, you will regret it today.
Mrs. Okoro screamed from her reclining chair in the living room, where she was watching Africa Magic while 2 SS2 students were massaging her swollen feet. This was the norm. Every day, Mrs. Okoro selected her victims. She didn't pick the poor students, she picked the pretty ones, the smart ones, the ones whose spirit she wanted to break. The brutality wasn't just physical. It was soul crushing. She turned students into unpaid housemaids. You think because your father drives a G-Wagon you are special? She would sneer, watching a student sweat while hand-washing her husband's heavy jeans. Let me tell you, all that grammar you are speaking is waste. A woman is nothing if she cannot cook and clean. I am teaching you how to be a wife, not a useless slay queen. The girls fetched water in heavy jerrycans when her pump spoiled. It was never spoiled, she just didn't want to waste diesel. She backed her crying toddlers while trying to read their chemistry notes. She fried puff-puff by the hundreds for the catering business she ran on the side. Of course, the students complained. When Chidima's mother, a fiery lawyer from Lekki, stormed the school demanding to know why her daughter's hands were blistered, Mrs. Okoro was ready. She was an Oscar-worthy actress. Mrs. Okoro would drag Chidima into the office, tears already forming in her own eyes. Barrister, I didn't want to tell you. I've been trying to cover her shame. We caught Chidima jumping the fence to meet one vulcanizer boy at the junction. She was washing the boy's clothes when we found her. What? The mother would scream, turning on her daughter. It's a lie, Mommy. I was at her house. You see? Mrs. Okoro would sigh, pulling out a fake report sheet marked with red ink. Look at her grades. F9 in everything. She's distracted. I only punish her to reset her brain, to make her humble. The parents always believed the sister-in-law to the honor. The students would get a slap from her own mother and Mrs. Okoro would smirk, untouchable. Then came the second term, and with it, Anita. Anita was the only child of a divorced oil magnate. She had been expelled from 3 schools in 2 years. She wore her skirt shorter than regulation, chewed gum in assembly, and had eyes that didn't look down when an elder spoke. She was notorious, fearless, and completely uninterested in respectability. The clash was inevitable. It happened on a Tuesday. Mrs. Okoro stormed into the SS2 arts class. You, the new girl, Anita, stand up. Follow me to my house. My last born has vomited on the rug. The class held its breath. Anita didn't stand. She leaned back and popped her gum and rooked Mrs. Okoro up and down. Mrs. Okoro, is it in the curriculum? Is rug cleaning 101 part of WAEC's syllabus? The silence was deafening. Even the lizards on the wall froze. You are rude, Mrs. Okoro whispered, her chest heaving. You will suffer in this school. I'm already suffering looking at your wig, ma, Anita replied dryly. Mrs. Okoro tried everything. She made Anita kneel on stones in the sun, Anita would faint, fake it so convincingly that the school nurse had to intervene. She gave Anita 0 in tests. Anita laughed and showed her father, who didn't care as long as she wasn't pregnant. But Anita knew Mrs. Okoro was dangerous. She saw how the other girls, the quiet ones like Tolu and Bisi, were withering away. Tolu had missed so many classes doing chores that she was going to repeat the year. "We need to end her," Anita told Tolu one evening in the dormitory. "You can't," Tolu whispered, terrified. "She owns the school." "She thinks she owns the school," Anita corrected. Anita formed her squad, the bad gang. They weren't bad, they were just tired. Anita smuggled in a smartphone, a strictly prohibited item. For 3 weeks, they played the long game. Anita pretended to break. She started going to Mrs. Okoro's house. She washed the plates. She scrubbed the floor. Mrs. Okoro was triumphant. "I told you I would break you," she gloated, eating a turkey leg while Anita swept. But Anita wasn't sweeping. She was recording. She recorded Mrs. Okoro stealing bags of rice meant for the boarding house kitchen and loading them into her personal car to sell at her shop. She recorded Mrs. Okoro abusing the students. But the gold mine was a phone conversation Mrs. Okoro had with her husband while Anita was dusting the shelf. "Don't worry about Chief," Mrs. Okoro laughed into the phone. "My brother-in-law is a fool. He thinks the school is making a loss. I've diverted 3 million naira this term alone to our building project in the village. Let the students eat, Gary. They will not die." Founders Day. The hall was packed. Chief Badmus was there, sitting on the high table. Parents were seated in rows, fanning themselves. Mrs. Okoro was at the podium, giving a speech about moral rectitude. "We raise children of standard, children who fear God," she bellowed into the microphone. Anita was in the projection room at the back. She wasn't supposed to be there, but the bad gang had distracted the IT teacher. "Now," Anita whispered. She plugged the aux cord into her phone. Suddenly, the projector screen behind Mrs. Okoro flickered. The PowerPoint about school achievements vanished. A video started. It was crystal clear. Mrs. Okoro's voice boomed through the hall speakers louder than life. "My brother-in-law is a fool. I've diverted 3 million naira this time alone to our building project in the village. Let the students eat, Gary. They will not die." The hall went deathly silent. Then, the video cut to Mrs. Okoro slapping Tolu because the yam was not pounded smooth enough. Then a clip of her telling a parent, "Your daughter is a prostitute," followed immediately by a clip of that same daughter washing Mrs. Okoro's underwear in her bathroom. Mrs. Okoro froze on stage. The microphone dropped from her hand with a screech of feedback. Chief Badmus slowly stood up. His face was a mask of thunder. He turned to look at his sister-in-law. The parents were already on their feet, screaming. The chaos was instant. Mrs. Okoro didn't just lose her job. She was arrested that same afternoon for embezzlement and child abuse. The video had already been airdropped to 50 students and was trending on Twitter Lagos before the police van arrived. As the police dragged the weeping, pleading Mrs. Okoro past the assembly ground, the students watched from the balcony. Anita stood on the railing, popping her gum. "Class dismissed," she murmured. Anita was expelled the next week for hacking school equipment. But she didn't care. As she walked out of the school gates with her suitcase, the entire hostel leaned out of the windows and cheered. She was the bad student who did a very good thing.
Okay, see disgrace. That is how Mrs. Okoro used her own hand to carry her market to the public square. It just goes to show. Monkey go walk, Babin go chop, but one day, the monkey go wise up. But be honest with me in the comment section. Did you have a teacher like Mrs. Okoro in your secondary school? That one wicked teacher that acted like they owned your life? Oh yeah, drop your own story below. Let us gist. If you enjoyed this sweet basbos and want more animated Nigerian stories like this, abeg show some love and smash that like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications, that little bell, so you'll be the first to know when I drop another banger. Finally, share this video with your secondary school squad and anyone who needs a good laugh today. Thanks for watching. Remember, no grief for anybody. Sharp!